Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when and where you are listening to this. My name's Steve Holland, and okay, so the Mytek the Mighty that I was so excited about in the last video about a month ago, the launch has not quite gone to plan. I think that's the that's the least that you could say. So, I thought I'd do this little video to explain what was happening and what had, as far as I'm aware, happened. If you've been reading comic cuts for any length of time, you'll be aware that I was having a few problems with printing. The amount of time that it was taking for the printer to deliver books was increasing. Normally, you'd put in an order and the books would take maybe 10, 12 days to print. So generally, fortnight after putting in the order, the books would arrive. And this has been working fine since, well, the first book that we put out in 2011. During the year, the wait times have become a little bit longer. I was willing to put up with that because the quality of the books is good. I make no secret that we use print on demand, but the finished product is exceptionally good. They are printed by, they're not fly-by-night printers. These are long-standing, well-established printers that are used for these operations. So, we were getting 3 weeks, and I was, unhappy but willing to put up with that. I think I've complained about it in the past about how long I've been waiting because doing a weekly column, you kind of rely on news to help you fill the column. So the Comic Cuts column has been I'm still waiting. Here's some photos of the tomatoes in the garden. Here's the lawn. If it's a lawn week in Comic Cuts, you know that I'm waiting on news. Anyway, so what has happened with Mytek? It took quite a while for the proofs to come through. As many of you know, I wanted to get the books out in May. Well, in fact, I wanted to get the books out in April originally, so that the third volume would come out in June and the fourth volume would come out in August. Well, the delays in the proofs arriving, there was a problem with the first set of proofs. They look great, but the problem was that I needed to add a little trademark device to the logos at the request of Rebellion. I mean, their property, they can ask me to do that, and it was something that hadn't crossed my mind. So I then waited for it certainly felt like ages for a new proof to come through, or a new set of proofs, and there was I'm not sure, there was certainly a glitch that meant that they didn't come through that quickly. Anyway, they arrived and I wanted to get the books out. Jules Burt was going to do a video. He had recorded a video at the book fair, and he was going to release that in early July. So I thought, well, that's good, the best time to actually release the book as well. What I like to do is offer people who order early a discount. And the way to do this is to get the printers to send out the books. How it works is it costs about £5 maybe to send out both books. I think the actual when you break down the costs of postage for the two Mytek books, it's I think they both go out at £3.40, but you have to use what I call a book wrap rather than just slipping it into an envelope. So we use these book wraps, and they're about 70p each. So that's £3.40 plus 70, that's £4.10. I can't put those into the letterbox. So I have to pay for the post office to come and pick them up, which is another 30p. So that's £4.40, which is about what it costs when the printers send them out directly. But of course, on top of my £4.40, I've also got the cost of getting the books from the printers to me. And that works out about, they're exceptionally expensive because they send them out express delivery by DHL. And I generally don't need the books to arrive within 24 hours. I rather wish that they didn't send them out that way and I got them the following day at a much lower price, because my print order might be £300 or £400, but I can be paying £60 for postage on top of that. So the postage is just incredibly bad. So and it can mean an extra £1.25 on top of the cost of posting the books out from here. So, the postage costs alone are over £5. That's then built into the price, and the price plus the cost of postage that I charge. To give people a discount, I get them sent out by the printers. And so that's saving the cost of the books coming to me. So that £1.25 I then pass on to the customer as an early bird discount. And it's worked pretty well for the last few years, as I say. Not so well this time. This time it's been incredibly bad. Also, while I do the early bird discounts, I can generally gauge how well a book is going to sell, or how quickly a book is going to sell. So that will then give me a clue as to how many books I need to order as a first print run. Again, being a one-man operation, I don't have the space to carry much stock. As you can see in this room is just generally packed to the hilt with bookshelves and boxes full of comics and everything. There isn't much space for stock, so I don't like to carry too much stock. I generally carry a few boxes. At the moment, I've got 3 boxes in the living room, and I've got 3 or 4 boxes in my old office. So, but that, stock alone, I've published something like 40 books, and that ties up a couple of £1,000 in stock, just waiting to sell. So, as I said, I don't like to print that many at one time. The early bird orders give me a clue on how many to order. So that's how many I've ordered for when the books go up on eBay and on Amazon. The reason for that is that both eBay and Amazon now demand that you send books out tracked, right? So they have to be tracked. I do that by buying the postage online. I've got a snazzy little printer that prints out labels, and the books then go into the post box down the road. It's a very easy system. And again, most of the time it works. The reason I can't do that, I can do that when I'm paid by PayPal, but if I'm doing the early birds, I can't do that. The reason is that, as I said, it's print on demand. The orders take roughly 10 to 12 days to print, or have done in the past, and that means that I can't provide Amazon or eBay with a tracking number, because I don't know the tracking number until it arrives with me when the book is printed. And both eBay and Amazon require that you send a book out within a couple of days. So that's the reason why the early birds are not tracked, and why I can't offer a discount through eBay and through Amazon. So we come on to what has happened this time. Well, print orders have been taking a lot longer. Print orders have been taking about 3 weeks. So I process the orders as soon as they come in. or later that same evening if there's been a number. And we launched on the 3rd of July, and I processed, I think, maybe 10 orders that day. And then another 6 the next day, and then maybe another 6 or so the following day. So over the first 3 days, there were over 20 orders processed. I just can't tell you how pleased I was. Obviously, a book of this size is something of a risk for me. I had already spent quite a few £100 on licensing the books, getting proof copies of the books. I'd spent months cleaning up the artwork, writing introductions. So it's always a bit of a risk, and you're always a bit nervous. You can't help but be nervous when you launch these things. But anyway, the initial orders were very, very pleased. I was getting orders from, a couple from America. I got a Canadian order. I got one from Greece, a couple in Germany. So I didn't worry too much, knowing that it was going to take a couple of weeks before I started to see the orders shipping. And I was slowly feeding through new orders, and I put in a couple of orders myself. There was already an order for some restocks that had gone in on the 30th of June, restocking other books that I needed to get some extra copies of. And I decided at that point, that I was going to order in more copies. Generally, my stock levels are like 5 copies. And if I drop below 3, then I put in an order for, and I don't sell that many that quickly. So it's never been an issue. I think in the 14 years that I've been running Bear Alley, I've had orders that I can't fulfill maybe 2 or 3 times. It's that low. But I decided that the extra time it was taking for the printing, that I would have to carry more stock. So I put in a restock order on the 30th to build up my stocks. So maybe 10 days after Mytek went live, I put in an order for a bigger run of the Mytek books. I then started seeing books ship and didn't think that there was anything wrong. And then a bunch of orders, they said, late shipping, so like this order is late. So I just thought, well, they are running late. It's going to take 3 weeks rather than 2 weeks for the books to arrive. There was one day where I got, a load of orders came through as being late, but other books were still shipping. So it wasn't that worrying because books were actually being printed and shipping out. Anyway, there was a day when I got a slew of notifications that books were running late. So I thought, I'll see if I can do anything about this. And also I wanted to chase them up about my restock order that had gone in June. At which point I learned that there had been what was called an equipment failure. I don't know what failed, how it failed, why it failed. Because nobody seems to be able to give you information, certainly not at the end of an email. And so anyway, yes, there was an equipment failure. And looking at the way things generally work, I think the equipment failure must have been about the 12th of July, which would have been when my orders would have started shipping out. Bizarrely, the very first order that I got in had shipped, and then all the other orders from the same day had not. So yeah, 10 or 12 days. So about it was somewhere around the 12th, and things may have sorted themselves out by the 16th, after the weekend. I mean, this is all guesswork. I'm just trying to make sense of what's happened. So the equipment failure is fixed, and I am assured that the books are now being printed and going out. So when people contact me and say, "Where's my order?" Quite rightfully, because generally they've had their order within a fortnight from me, or within days if they're ordering through eBay and Amazon. So yeah, quite rightfully, people are starting to get a bit nervous and saying, "Well, where's my book?" And all I can say is there was an equipment failure, but it's now been fixed, and you will receive your books shortly. Anyway, time moves on. I can see some orders shipping. There are orders that went in on the later in the month that are shipping, because by now I'm checking every single order against the original processed order when I processed it, and it all seems a bit random. So I think what happened is that the orders that had gone into the system at the printers had to be put back into the system. So they basically they had to get back on the carousel, and they might not necessarily have gone back on the carousel in the same order that they were originally put on, because some of the orders that were due, that I processed on the 10th, they were shipping, but the ones that had been processed on the 3rd were not. So they may even have gone in backwards for all I know. More bizarrely, I put in 2 orders, and having learned that there had been an equipment failure and there were problems, I put in orders for a proof of Mytek Volume 3 and Mytek Volume 4. And I thought, well, I'll do them both separately. It's going to cost me a bit more because I'll have to pay 2 lots of postage. But I'll put the orders in separately. And yeah, so I've had Volume 4, which was the second book that I had processed, obviously. But I haven't had Volume 3. And I'm wondering what's happening. Like everybody else, I'm in the same boat. I don't know. I just don't know. Anyway, I have been in touch with them again, and they do assure me that orders are being caught up with as quickly as possible. We're in that. It's a difficult situation, well, for everybody. But the printers were already overloaded, which is why the orders were going out late, and they've now got all of this backlog of orders to catch up on. So I think they're doing a bit of both. They're trying to make sure. I'm sure that they've got, if I mean, I don't know whether Penguin publishes with them, but if somebody the size of Penguin says, well, if you don't get our book out on time, we're gonna charge you for it, which is a thing that I can't do, because my orders are often 1 book at a time. And mind you, I've put a few £1,000s worth of business their way over the last 6 months. I'm not an insignificant publisher, and I'm not an insignificant client of theirs. So I'd rather wish that they would keep me informed of when there's a problem and how it's being dealt with and how quickly I can expect to have my books go out. And then I can pass the information on to customers. Now, everybody's been wonderful. Let me just say that. Everybody's been very understanding. And some people have been saying, well, I've waited 60 years for Mytek to be reprinted. I don't mind waiting a week or 2 more. Uh, that's very kind. Thank you very much for that. I'd rather not put you through it. So, yeah, yes, the launch of Mytek has not been the launch that I had hoped for. Anyway, what I can say is that I noticed 2 days ago one of the orders that were dated the 3rd. So amongst the very first orders, that went out. Mark, you'll be very pleased to hear about that because I know you were not going to be around next week. And another 6 orders were shipped out this morning. So I'm hoping that that means that the rest will follow very quickly. But I had promised that I would do this video to try and explain, first of all, why I print the way I do, and secondly, to explain how the printing had gone wrong and why I think the orders have all come out in a slightly higgledy-piggledy way. I know some people have received their books and have posted pictures of them, which, again, thank you very much. I am a one-man band, so publicity is not always the highest job on my mind, and any help in that direction I can get, fantastic. So anyway, this hopefully explains all of that, and going ahead in the future, moving forward from this problem. I'm not sure that the solution is to sack the printers. I think the solution is for me to make sure that I have copies in hand when the book goes live. I've already said that I would probably end up carrying more stock. I think what in the future I'm going to have to do is just take a punt at how many books I'll sell of a particular book. I've got a few years' experience of this now. So and make sure that I've actually got copies on hand when the books go out. Unless I can get assurances from the printer, it might mean that I can't quite offer the discount I have been offering on future books. What I will do is that I have notes of everyone whose order has been a month late, and I will make sure that they get a discount on the next book. I think it's unfair on them to have had to wait this long, and I'll see if I can do something about it in the future. There's a couple of other things I can do. One is I'm going to try out another printer with some of the older books and see how that works out. But yeah, just try not to let this happen again in the future, because it has. It's embarrassing, and I'm trying to put together another book. I'm working on the Air Ace Companion, and then there's another book after that I'm starting to work on as well. While I'm finishing off the Air Ace, there are still one or two little things that need doing. So I'm waiting on. There's some proofing being done as well. Other people are having a look at it. So while that's happening, I'm working on yet another book to be disclosed at some point in the future. But I need to work on that. I don't need the worry of the printers going bug fuck. Yeah, but anyway, I will try and sort some of this out in the future so that this doesn't happen again. Thank you to everybody for your patience. It's very much appreciated, and I think the books are good. I think there is a payoff at the end of this, is that you get some good books, even if they're a bit late. But next time, I'll try and get the good books to you in a timely fashion, and hopefully this won't ever happen again. and I won't have to do this mea culpa video for the next one. Anyway, hopefully that explains what's been going on and where we can move forward to in the future. All right, so bye now from Bear Alley Books, and see you at the next book, I guess. All right, thanks a lot. All right, bye.